Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus Today. Tacitus Today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio, radio, no pictures live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about cheating or in college, university exams in India or the subcontinent generally. It doesn't have to just be India, and the attitudes to cheating and corruption and so on in India. And it's very, very different from how we do things in the West. Now, having said that, the West has been corrupted, especially over the last 25 years or so, by lowering standards and creating bullshit Mickey Mouse degree courses, peace studies and African American studies, and or studies in they just make it up. I mean, fuck me, there's millions of them. But so that maybe the West hasn't got too much to crow about on this one, But anyway, let's just have a look at the scale of cheating. Now, there's an article recently, I think it was in the BBC, that I saw it talking about large-scale cheating in India. Of course, the BBC had to, rework it as a victim story. Little Nimrata travelled 1,000 million miles, going across 100 million swastikas to get to the exam centre, only to find that it was cruelly snatched away while she was dressed in pink, by the way. So they try and turn it into a victim story, but the reality is you've got mass, large scale, as in millions of people, cheating. A former colleague of mine was a lecturer and was acting, I think, deputy vice dean or something like that at a university for a while. And they brought out a dean and a deputy dean from England, and the dean announced to the students that cheating would no longer be allowed. And cheating was they turned a blind eye to cheating. As long as you're from a sophisticated upper class sort of Brahmin type student, then hey, you were entitled to a degree as a measure of social prestige. The fact you didn't do any work or you didn't know anything about the subject, well, hey, who cares? It's meant to be a prestigious sort of bestowment and an honorary, not something you really actually worked for. And the Indians generally didn't see, the idea of having a degree was seen as simply as a social status badge and nothing else, particularly the upper classes. Now, when they announced this, that there'd be no cheating allowed, there was riots in the university. The students actually rioted because they weren't allowed to cheat, and so cheating was then reinstated simply to keep the peace rather. And there was political pressure that was put on these new university administrators to just accept that cheating was a way of life in India, and corruption was a way of life, and so stop bothering about it. Don't go against the current here. So anyway, this was even years after the event, he thought it was sort of in a way humorous, but very Indian. Now, my first experience with Indians coming to Australia, this was the Brahmins initially. I found that these people who had degrees, and I hired quite a number of them, these people who had degrees or claimed to have degrees, they didn't have these degrees at all. They purchased, assuming they even had them, they purchased them. I don't doubt they attended university because it's seen as a bit of a social club for the upper class in India, where women can meet future husbands, this sort of thing. But the people that claim to have degrees, PhDs in computer science and PhDs in supply chain and all this sort of thing, they didn't have anything of the sort. They had either no degrees at all, or if they did have, and they would bring the degrees in, they went to a printing factory to get it, or again that they bribed or cheated. Now, cheating, the sort of cheating was fairly widespread. Well, not fairly widespread, very widespread, and it's alleged today that over 5 million degrees, I don't know how true this is, but it's alleged over 5 million degrees a year in India are actually cheat degrees. And I can't imagine the millions, but 5 million, that seems excessive. Now, the cheating takes on a number of methodologies, if you will. One is that they release quietly the exam papers released weeks before the actual exam, so you can get a copy of it, and you can get the answers sort of put in for you by someone who knows, or maybe you bother to do the legwork on it. It doesn't really matter, but you've got all the questions you can work out, and then you're allowed to take in the exam paper with all the answers written in, and then write them into the official exam paper. Sometimes people don't even bother; they just hand in the paper that they've already put the answers into, as in the questions they got weeks before the exam. Other times is you get someone who's already sat the exam and actually did do the work and did do very well at it, and you get them to sit the exam, and you pay them a sum of money for doing it. And because they're someone who's actually done the work and done the hard yards, they'd be from one of the lower castes. So you can you have a position of sort of social superiority where you can effectively demand that they do it. So there's that. So you can get someone else to sit the exam. You get the questions leaked, or you go in with the answers. This lecturer guy that I knew this is from the 1970s, was India. He said people bringing in all the answers with them was quite sort of normal. It wasn't considered unusual, and he was told just to let it go, just look the other way, and then people would be up there getting their degrees, all smiling. But again, it was part of a social stratum thing, not an example of look how hard I work, look how bright I am, look how hard I studied. It was nothing to do with that. So when these people first started coming to Australia, I realised that they had none of these qualifications. Even the jobs that they claimed they'd had, particularly in the upper classes, were all in monopoly businesses that were owned by their family. So they didn't do the work. They just had flunkies to do the work, and they appeared, sat in palatial offices with designer label clothes, swanned around looking and sounding important, and issuing instructions to the underlings, and then walking off to go to a fancy restaurant for lunch, that type of stuff. So the work experience they claimed they had, they didn't have, and they had no knowledge of what to do or anything, but they were quite adamant that their social status gave them a free pass. I shouldn't have to work. I shouldn't have to study. I shouldn't have to know what I'm talking about. My social status compensates for all of that. So this idea that the Indian cheating thing, or again, it could be the whole subcontinent, Pakistan, Bangladesh, is that the amount of Indians that are coming to the West. Now, there's thick end of 10 million Indians every year coming to the West. And many of, not all, but many of these claim to have degrees, whether it be in medicine or anything. So now, certainly by my experience, very few of them do have these degrees. And so why would the West be importing tens of millions of people overall who have none of the qualifications they claim they have? And their only way of getting anything is by bribing and cheating. Is that the sort of attitude you want to bring with you? And on top of the bribing and cheating, they have this massive sense of entitlement. They have no intention of integrating. So does this really make them good, viable, worthwhile immigrants? I would say no, but I'd be interested in seeing your views in the comments below. You've been Tacitus today, your Pushback channel. Thank you for listening.